Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Luke chapter 13, in our reading today, we come across a teaching that Jesus gives that connected to the attitude of the people of the generation that Jesus was ministering to at that time, but it also connects to Job's friends and the attitude that they had towards Job, and could even relate to our own attitude that we might have towards others. There, the Lord talks about two things that had occurred within that time frame, where people were wondering, did these things happen because these people were great sinners? There's an instance where the Galileans had their blood mixed with the sacrifices by Pilate, and then another about a tower of Siloam that had fell and killed some people. And the people were wondering, were these people great sinners? Is that why these things happened? Was God punishing them? And it's interesting what Jesus says and how Jesus instructs them in connection to this. He says, I tell you, no, but unless you repent, you will all likewise perish. In other words, it seems to be that the Lord is saying you need to focus on yourself. Instead of trying to worry about were they sinners and was God enacting justice on them and judgment on them, you need to be looking to yourself and making sure that you have things in line so that you won't undergo the judgment of God. And this would apply, of course, to their situation, where they would use some introspection and some self-awareness to say, you know what, instead of condemning others, maybe I ought to look to myself and make sure that I'm okay with God. Same thing with Job's friends. Job's friends, instead of casting accusations and saying Job must have done something wrong and sinned against God in order for this calamity to come upon him, they should have looked to themselves and say, you know what, this ought to be something that I need to guard myself against, and to use this as a chance for self-reflection on my own life. And the same thing is true with us, because oftentimes there are some who, whenever a natural disaster goes into a particular area, especially an area that some might consider as irreligious or something like that, or some type of tragedy happens maybe in an individual's life who they believe doesn't necessarily have a close relationship with God, they might begin to condemn those people or that person to say, yeah, they got what was coming to them, and begin to condemn them in their heart to say, yeah, this hardship came because they are sinners and they deserve it, and all of these different things, when really we should use those as opportunities to reflect on our own lives and say, is my heart right with God? Am I in the right relationship with God? Because God might very well discipline me if I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to do, as Hebrews chapter 12 talks about. And so this is a good principle for us to follow, to say, you know what, it might very well be the case that God is disciplining others for their misdeeds, but that's not for me to get involved in. That's between God and them. What I need to do is look within myself and make sure that I'm walking in a way that's in line with God's will, and to use it as a chance to draw closer to the Lord, to say, Lord, I know that even in my own heart, things aren't always the way they should be, and I want to all the more straighten things out between myself and you, so that I can walk this life and live this life in more perfect union to your will. So here's some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.